Hi, Heather here from Creative Kiwi. Created this video to show the techniques that we use to make these free ghost bookmarks that are super quick to make and a really good way of using up Scratch. Now please bear with me, I'm a better stitcher and designer than I am video maker, but I hope this video can show you the steps that we do use to make these designs. I'm just going to get straight into it, and we're going to start with the 5x7. So the first thing we do is hoop our stabilizer. Now we use 2 layers of water-soluble fabric type stabilizer, and this is so we can remove all traces of the stabilizer at the end. And the fabric type stabilizer is strong enough to take the satin stitch edges. We also pin the stabilizer in the hoop, and this just stops all movement within your hoop, and it gives you a really good stitch out. Now we're off to the machine, and the first thing we do is stitch the outline of the bookmark design. Now I've used dark thread so you can see. You could use a neutral colour thread. We're placing our batting over that guideline, and we're going to attach that to the stabiliser. Now I use a thin polyester batting. It's just to give the bookmark a bit of body, a bit of strength. You could use felt. In fact, you could stitch the entire design in felt. Now the outline stitches twice. This is to give you a nice cutting edge, and it also just gives that guideline for your fabric placements. So we've taken the hoop from the machine, and we're just going to cut away the excess batting. And this is just to keep the batting out of the seams, out of the satin stitch edges. And you'll see there is a gap. There's a gap between the original outline and where the batting is. Now we're going to start on the front of the hoop, and we're just going to put that bottom part of the bookmark fabric over the guideline. Now you can tape this in place. I'm pretty bad. I generally don't tape, but you can tape that fabric in place if you prefer. Now you need to have your machine threaded with the colour you want for the quilting, because it's going to attach the bookmark bottom plus just do the line quilting on that edge. You can see it's doing it now. So do have neutral thread. I've used white. Now, with the magic of video, I have zipped ahead and I've stitched out the wording on the design. Now, the design comes with that design about reading books. If you wanted to add a different design, put someone's name, you would do it at this point before we actually add the ghost fabric. So there's the bottom part of the bookmark completed. Now we're just going to cut away that excess fabric from where the ghost fabric's going to go. Now we're placing the white fabric for the ghost over the hoop. Again, you can tape. And we're just back at the machine, and we're just going to attach that fabric. This is all on the front of the hoop in the meantime. Now the design includes a quilting line on that ghost. You can skip that if you just want the ghost without any quilting. But if not, it just goes through and gives it a nice padded look. And then we have the eyes. We remove the hoop again, and we're just going to cut away that ghost fabric just from front. It's just the front edge, just that bottom bit from his arms. It's because we're going to add the backing fabric on the back to cover the back. So we're just getting rid of that excess from that portion only. This is where we do add our backing fabric, which is going to cover all the back, so you won't see that stitching on the back. Now you have your backing fabric with the right side facing upwards. It's the back of the design. And you just take it back to the machine and attach. All the actual colour detail is on the written instructions. So please read through the written instructions as well, as it has more detail than these videos. The video is just showing you how we actually do it. So there we go. We're going to cut away all the excess fabric. Now I get into a habit of cutting the fabric away on the back first because it is very easy to forget and just cut away on the front and then pop the hoop back in the machine and realise you've still got the backing fabric there. Go. Now we're back to our machine. Now the first stitch then is just a zigzag, which just covers all the raw edges. I normally just use a white or a neutral thread. And the next part's going to actually stitch the satin stitch edge. So if you're using different colours, you need to change your bobbin thread. I've done it all in white, so I've just left the white bobbin thread in there. So the first thing it does is just stitch that bottom edge. That's the bottom edge done. And now we're going to do the ghost satin stitch. And again, I just carried on in white, but you could have used a grey, any colour. Just change your bobbin at the same time. That's it. That's your bookmark stitched. So the last step is just to remove that excess stabiliser around the edges. So I cut fairly close with my scissors. You don't want to cut their satin stitch. I show at the very end of the next video how you then remove the water-soluble stabiliser completely away from the edges. Now we're on to the 4x4 design. The same thing, you're going to hoop 2 layers of your water-soluble stabiliser and pin the edges, just to ensure there's no movement in your hoop. Off to the machine, and we're going to stitch the outline of the ghost on the stabiliser. For this ghost, I added a wee tassel at the bottom, so I used the centre of my hoop as a marker. Then I just tape that tassel in place outside that stitch line. If you wanted to put a little handle at the top, you could do the same thing on the opposite from hanging from the top. Now we add our piece of batting over the guideline and off to our machine and just attach that batting. That will stitch round twice so that you've got a nice edge to cut around. Now we're just going to place our fabric over the hoop. You can tape it in place if you prefer. And we're just going to attach that fabric by stitching around twice. The next step is the inner detail. So I have included a quilting stitch. You can skip that colour if you prefer not to have any quilting showing on the ghost. And then we just have the eyes. There's the quilting, just to show you. Just gives it a bit of body, but you can skip that colour. Now the next step, I just float the backing fabric underneath the hoop. You can remove it and you can have a look at the 5x7 files and tape the backing fabric in place, or as I do here, I'm just going to float it. So you can see I just float the fabric under the hoop. Now the white fabric doesn't matter whether it's wrong side, right side, but you would have the right side facing downwards. You can see I can check there to see that the fabric is positioned nicely under the hoop. And there we go, we just stitch to attach the backing fabric. We're cutting away that excess fabric. Again, I try and remember to cut away the back fabric first, just so I don't forget. The only thing to watch on the front of the hoop is if you've got a tassel or a hanging tab, that you don't cut it away. I have done that many times. Quite like the green tape, just reminds me that there is, a tassel there. So there we go, and back into the hoop. Now you would have matching bobbin thread. I'm using white thread, so I've just continued with my white bobbin. If you wanted to have blue, grey, just use a matching thread, and we just stitch that final outline. Super, super, super quick to make. And there we go. A cute little ghost bookmark. So we just cut away the stabiliser from the edges, again, making sure we don't cut the tassel off. And to remove just any stabiliser that's left on the edges, just get some hot water and a Q-tip and you just wash it away. The magic of wash away stabiliser. So there you go. You have cute little bookmarks that are very quick to make. And as I say, they'll make a lovely little gift, probably in addition to lollies, but for some little one. Thanks for watching. Kia ora.